Welcome everyone again. Thank you so much for spending this afternoon, this coming 50 minutes with us. My name is Aygul, and I'm from the Do Asia team. So the Do is the Impact Innovation Consultancy from Germany. We help companies to be more purposeful, and we work in projects related to upskilling at work, also in sustainability. We work with H&M, Jane Goodall Foundation, and also one of the famous projects, Count Us In, which was featured at the latest movie with Leonardo DiCaprio. And here in Hong Kong, we have a project called WLAB together with WLOC. And this is a space in Quarry Bay where our goal is to help and to co-create a happier and healthier Hong Kong. Of course, at the moment, because of the current situation, we are closed. But once the restrictions get lifted and the situation gets better, we hope to see you at WLAB for our next events. Anyway, so today, I will be hosting this session. And it's my honor to have together with me Aymeric Vollant, who is a renowned sound artist, DJ. He's also a co-founder of Ikigai Wellness Studio that has 3 branches in Hong Kong. So he will be leading the immersive sound session. And of course, before that, we will have a quick conversation to understand a bit more about the science behind the sound, to understand the benefits of that. So Aymeric, hello. Thank you so much for joining today.
Hey, Igor. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so Aymeric, let's just go straight into, like if you could tell us a little bit more about how did you get into immersive sounds, because as I know, and I've known you for a while now, you are the only one, and this is a very special experience that you created, and I haven't heard of anything like that before.
Thanks a lot. Well, yeah, like you said, right now I'm mostly developing the project Ikigai. It's a meditation and yoga studio. We have 2 branches, not 3, but thanks for introducing it. On my side, I'm not considering myself as a sound expert. There are many more people that are more knowledgeable, more experienced than me, but I surely am interested in the topic, and I like to share what I have come across. And my interest for sound started like years back. I used to work mainly as an event organizer, and this led me to also learn how to DJ. So over the last decade, I've been DJing around town at a very humble level, but with passion. But with years, my taste turned a little bit away from club nights and finishing too late at night, and went towards more ambient sounds and soundscapes. So I started to record sounds outside. This was really the trigger that first got me interested in how sounds and music affect our bodies. So recording sounds outside became a bit of my mindfulness, my meditative practice. And when we opened Ikigai, I wanted to find a way to share this practice with people. So after a few weeks of testing, we came out with the concept and the format I will share with you today. Of course, usually it's in person. We provide headphones to everyone in the room, in the studio, but it happens that it can also work online, and we're gonna go for this session together in a few minutes.
Yeah, thank you so much, Aymeric. Yes, actually, before we also go into the session and to the next question, so for everyone, if you'd like to ask a question, use the Q&A option. So you will see it right below your screen if you're using your laptop. If you're using it on the phone, also just tap and you will see this option. So you can leave your question and then we will answer them in the end. right? So any question about the sound, so we'll try to cover them. And of course, I guess also given the current situation, and initially this virtual wellness series were supposed to also be in person, but it is what it is. And I guess the biggest question would be, so what's actual benefit of the sound? So what's the effect that the sound has on our body and also on our mind?
Yeah, and when we talk about that, when we talk about the effect sounds have on ourselves, there are two angles I like to take. On one side, there is the way we interact with daily sounds, so be it music, traffic sounds, nature sounds, etc. It's easier to feel what effects those sounds have on us because they have a strong impact on our emotional level. So we have more or less all the same experiences where we would feel more relaxed when listening to a piece of classical music, or we would feel more stressed or agitated when we are in the middle of a traffic jam. So one is the effect on our emotional level. On another side, the second approach would be to look at sounds as on more of a physical level. Sounds are vibrations. The nature of sound is vibration, and vibration that go through air at different speeds. We name the speed of the vibration frequency, and the frequency unit is called hertz. So when we talk about a sound that has a 10 hertz frequency, simply means that there are 10 cycles per second. It's the speed of the sounds. So on the frequencies themselves have some properties that will affect us on a physiological level. But overall, the body is a very powerful machine. It has the ability to heal itself. And using sounds, using music, will have a direct influence on our brain and our brain functions that can help the body just to heal faster. So regardless of which angle we look at, sound and music also are great tools to help us sleep better, to help us manage stress level. And nowadays, more than ever, this is a tool that we all need.
No, absolutely. Actually, you already covered my next question, which was about this, like the science behind the sound, right? And how it affects our brain. Because even, like with all these studies, like how like pregnant women, for example, that are listening to Mozart, and how the fetus is getting developed, that have shown that actually it has a huge impact. Um, and
Uh,
yeah, so yeah, if you could also just elaborate a little bit more.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely, and it's true that using sounds is quite common nowadays, especially in medical areas where we use sound also to help kids with autism or people with Parkinson. We can use music for people and women delivering babies also to avoid the use of anesthetics. But then when we are touching on the scientific side, I am no scientist. It can be a difficult topic, but I can give a simplified version or summarize of key concepts that are involved here. To understand how sound works on a scientific level, there are just two concepts to be aware of, two principles from physics. First one is that everything vibrates. Everything vibrates. You can take a black hole in the center of the universe or a tiny atom in our body. Everything vibrates. And by nature, sound is the vibration going through air. So if we look at it, basically everything is singing around us. Everything is generating the sounds. Like everything else, our brain also vibrates and emits vibrations. These are called brain waves. And these brain waves can have different frequencies, different speed. So there were some scientific research that led to the conclusion that those different frequencies emitted by the brain, they can be associated to different state of consciousness. Many of us might have heard the names delta waves or alpha waves, beta waves, etc. So one type of wave can be associated, for example, to being calm. One type of wave can be associated to being alert, etc. One type of wave can be associated to being in deep sleep. So this on one side, everything vibrates. On the other side, the second principle is something called entrainment. And entrainment is the principle that says when two things vibrate next to one another, they will tend to synchronize. And this is the primary concept around all the most common sound healing practices. So when you go to a gong bath, when you go to a singing bowl class, etc., it uses the entrainment principle, where if you provide your brain with certain frequencies that are associated to the different type of states of consciousness, then you will give the opportunity to your brain to synchronize with those frequencies and to lead you to a more calmer state, for example. Now, this concept from physics is more applied to those sound healing practices. Sound can also be used more for meditation or mindfulness classes and exercises. And the sound session we'll go for together today touches more on the mindfulness use of sounds.
That's so fascinating, Aymeric. So can you define mindfulness? So what is mindfulness?
Sure. That's a very trendy word nowadays, and people have some
It is.
misconceptions about it. But to simplify, mindfulness is the ability to bring a full awareness to the present moment and to do it on purpose. That means that you need to make the effort to be aware of it and to do it also without judgment. And without judgment, in my opinion, is the most important part of the definition of mindfulness. It's simply about taking things for what they are. We notice the world around us, and things are not good, they are not bad, they just are. Because we all humans, we think all the time, right? We have big brains, and our brain judges everything. To summarize, the brain takes anything happening in our daily life and put them into three main categories: the good things, the bad things, and the neutral things. So all day long we go like this. I like this, I don't like this, I don't care about this is good for me, this is bad for me, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty useful as an ability to have for us, but it's also exhausting. The process of judging everything can be overwhelming, it's exhausting, and if we leave it unchecked, we can easily get ourselves in a spiral of stress and anxiety and not being able to manage our thoughts. So that's where mindfulness comes in. When we practice mindfulness, so when we train our brain to be more present in the moment and to take things for what they are, will just enable our brain to step back from all these judgments and to enable it to fully rest and fully recover.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much for such a good overview. I think especially for most of us living in Hong Kong, where this having this high achiever personalities, type A, right? So always on the go, always having lots of thoughts. So sometimes it's really so challenging to just slow down for a bit and actually to gain more from that, right? Anyways, like as someone who've already experienced a few of your immersive sound sessions, and they've been absolutely amazing, I won't keep everyone waiting too long, so I will just pass it on to you for the actual session. I know we also mentioned that to everyone, if you have your headphones, that would be the best. Anyways, over to you, Aymeric, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much. So let's go for it. And before to go for the actual sound session, to develop a little bit more on this mindfulness side, where to train our ability to be more mindful, so to train our ability to give rest to our brain, it's often relying on focusing on one of our senses. So if you go to a meditation class, more traditional approach would be to just focus on your breath, so that your mind and your thoughts can quiet down. Sound is a very efficient way, and it's what we're going to train together today. So it is all about going for a sound journey all together around the world. It's going to be sounds of city, there's going to be sounds of nature. I will add some music elements as well. The music will just give some mood, some texture to the mix. On your side, there is only one thing to do with your headphones on, is to bring your full awareness to what you can hear. So if we are in the nature, try to see if you can hear sounds of birds, the sound of the wind going through the trees, etc. In the city, maybe can you hear any transportation being around? Maybe can you hear people chatting? Do not try to take it as a Q&A. You just don't have to name every sound you can hear, but do try to notice everything. So you can imagine you have a white piece of paper in front of your eyes, and you will paint on it with your mind what you can see, what you can hear. It will last about 20 minutes. At the end of the session, I will turn on the mic again. I think now we are ready to start. One thing is important is throughout the session, and one point of this session is to lead you to understand yourself a bit more. So try to understand how those sounds make you feel, which sounds make you feel more relaxed, more stressed, etc. Right? So it will only take a minute for me to transition from the sound of my computer to my little equipment here. You can now just simply close your eyes and focus on your breath for a second, and you can bring back your awareness to the sounds when you hear it start in your headphones.
¿Sabes tú? ¿Qué estoy hablando?
Please keep your eyes closed. We've reached the end of today's session. Just take a moment and try to remember all the sounds you've just heard, all the places we've just been to. And try to remember how those sounds make you feel. You can take a few deep breaths here. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes again with a few blinks.
Thank you so much, Aymeric. So welcome back, everyone. And I'm sure I'm not the only one who felt the goosebumps when, hearing the plane. So if you have any questions for Aymeric, you can use Q&A and we'll have time for 2 questions. If not, you can still leave them there and we will, and Aymeric will respond later to them in the follow-up email. I would say my probably question would be, the session was amazing, but how to maintain the wellness routine on a daily basis, how, especially with all the stresses and anxieties coming along the way. So what would be your key tips, Aymeric?
Well, surely nowadays, more than ever, we're facing challenges for our mind, for our body. There's everything going on in town, especially. I would say that mindfulness can be a great solution just to disconnect a little bit from all the things we can hear. It can be very overwhelming to just listening to the news with any COVID restrictions, etc. But overall, we need to remember that out of this kind of situations, there is only that much we can do. We can only act on how we feel about them. We can only act on and learn how to disconnect our feelings and emotion from it. And while starting to listen, things that are around you would be a great way to train your brain to be more present in the moment. We were talking about that, Igor and I, during the preparation, where people were asking, but do I need to come to meditation classes or mindfulness classes or breathwork classes with Igor? Nowadays, there is no, the studios are not open, so I cannot go, so I cannot be mindful, so I cannot breathe. But actually, this is a bit funny because the idea behind the practices we are offering, and this is the same for breathwork as it is for the immersive sound session, is not to give people their dose of mindfulness or their dose of breathwork for the week. It's really one tool that we offer in order to reapply what you learned during the class or the skill you learned during the class in your daily life. It's not when you're sitting in the middle of a very nice and quiet room in a nice studio where you manage to keep your thoughts quiet. It's not where mindfulness will be the most important. It's more that when you are in the middle of a traffic jam or when you are in the middle of something with an important deadline you're about to catch, that's where being able to give your brain some space to recover will become very useful, and that's become beneficial. Because this misconception about mindfulness, for example, where it's only about slowing down, it's almost a spiritual thing that you can only do at home or in a studio. Um, it's true that mindfulness practice can help slow down and relax, but it's also about speeding up, because by training our brain to be fully aware of the present on one thing at the time, can you imagine how much more productive you can get at this thing and how much more pleasure you can get while doing it?
Yes, thank you so much, Aymeric. We actually, yeah, we have a few more questions, but because we are running out of time, unfortunately, like, yeah, it would have been, of course, amazing to keep going and and going. Aymeric will respond them in the follow-up email that you will receive soon. So please keep an eye on that. Just a quick heads up. So of course, there will be, so this is our monthly wellness series. So the next one will be focused on women's health, like also because of the month of March, but also the science why our our medicine is so male centric. So there will be some really interesting facts, and it's of course welcome not only for women but also for men to join. And we're also hosting our next webinar will be on metaverse. That will be on March 23rd. Is that the next ESG revolution? And then we will be having also a workshop, Hack Your Thinking for a More Sustainable Life, and the quiz, early April, the Do Virtual Quiz Night, where we will focus on circularity. So we will be also sending out more links to join. Of course, once the restrictions are lifted, you are all welcome to also book a visit and visit to WLAB. And well, last but not least, Aymeric, I know that it's always better to experience the immersive sounds in person. So how, of course, we will be also sharing your contact details, but how can people find you if they want to experience, have a full immersive sounds experience?
Yeah, obviously nowadays to have the session in person is very challenging, but it will be back at our Ikigai studios. There's one in Central, one in Kosovo Bay. It will be back as soon as restrictions are lifted. But since yesterday, we know that these restrictions will be in place at least until mid-April. So there's going to be some content we're going to share, and that I'm going to share a few recorded version of the immersive sound session that we will make available to the community for them to keep practicing and maybe give a little bit of time away from the daily challenges in the coming weeks.
Yes, thank you so much. Yeah, and I see some comments coming. Thank you really for your nice words. It's like, again, fabulous session. I hope that everyone who attended today can experience it in person at least once. Because I can say from my personal experience, I always had a very different outcome, you know, sometimes going very emotional, sometimes very cheerful. So please, yeah, so please look up for our follow-up email coming in the following days. Aymeric, again, thank you so much. It was amazing. And well, everyone, please stay safe and warm. And we see you soon.